All right. Yes, we're going to go ahead and get started again right now. So if you guys will pop on in, we'll grab a seat. We'll go ahead and get rolling. We are currently here in the second session right now. Pastor Ryan kicked us off first to kind of get things going, get things started. Love Pastor Ryan. Love the fact that he talked us through the big picture vision. Pastor Ryan, let us see what it's all about. This is where we're going. This is what we're doing. And so as Pastor Ryan got us all kicked off, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take kind of this next step on the journey. What does it look like to be a healthy church? We get one step at a time here. So I'm going to pray for us right now. We'll hop into this session 2. God, I thank you so much for today, Lord. What a great opportunity we get to come and connect with you. What a great opportunity that we get to see you at work in so many different ways, through so many different people and so many different churches that all unite to form your church, the bride of Christ. I pray that right now, God, you'd speak into our lives. You'd allow us to see you at work in a phenomenal way. And we just get a good vision, Lord, for what you have for our churches and the ways that we can continue to reach lost people. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so just so you guys have a little heads up of who I am, and so we're kind of on the same page with each other. My name is Darius Sanders. I'm one of the pastors here. I've been on staff here at Palm Valley Church for just over 19 years, and I'm actually married to my wife, Nicole. She's actually right there in the crowd today. Let's go, my beautiful wife. Okay, and me and my wife, Nicole, have 4 kids. So Toriana, and then Tayshawn, Trustin, JC, and True Blessing. Those are our 4 kids. And I get an opportunity right now to actually talk about kind of the next step on this journey here. Ryan kind of talked about the big picture of all these different areas here. I'm going to get a chance to talk about the crowd today. What do we do when people show up and they're a part of the crowd? What does that look like for us? I'm going to talk about the weekend worship service. And the weekend worship service is really, it's the service where it brings a lot of energy to your church. The church that brings the most, the service that has the most energy and people and effort and attention, that's the place where people are going to invite their friends. And so we're going to take a moment and talk about this weekend worship service and specifically convictions that we have about it. And the conviction that we have about the weekend worship service is that, you know what? A healthy church designs worship services that lost people love to attend. A healthy church designs worship services that lost people love to attend. Let me give you the why of this first of all, because I think the why is so important before I get into kind of the nuts and bolts of what do we do with this service, the why. And the why I want to give you comes from Luke 15. You see, when Jesus was here on this earth, he told a series of parables, a series of stories that we still remember to this day. And in the series of parables that he was sharing, he talked about a lost sheep, a lost coin, and a lost son. And as Jesus shared these parables, and as he talked about them, and as he explained them to the people, there's something so powerful he says in Luke 15:7, and I want us to all capture this. Luke 15:7, Jesus says this, after the lost sheep was found, "In the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over 99 others who are righteous and haven't strayed away." In the same way, there's more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over the 99 righteous who haven't strayed away. I want you guys to do something for me right now. I want everybody to stand up in the room right now. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Okay. We got roughly around 100 people, more than 100 people in the room right now, but 100 plus. But here's the thing. If we make up the church, most people would see us when they come to church, and they look at us and they think, wow, these people go to church. They must be saints. These are the saints of the church right here. But what we all know is we're all sinners, just saved by grace. But when people come to church and they see you there, they automatically think you're a saint. So we got all these saints inside of the church right here. Now, I need you to do something for me. I want you to sit down if you live in Arizona. Yeah. Okay, all right. Now we're going. Okay, all right. Sit down if you live in the East or Midwest. Y'all need to stand back up. Oh, wait, you still up? You still up? Okay. All right, anybody else? What? 2 more. Okay, all right. Sit down if you're wearing a blue shirt. I had to do it somehow. I'm sorry. Hey, stay up for a minute. Stay up for a minute. I'm just going to use you as an example right now, okay? Okay, what's your name? Henry. Okay, Henry, you're going to be my example right now. Henry, let's say, for example, you try to show up at church, okay? You show up at church and, you got all the saints here and you show up and you're a sinner, though, all right, Henry? But you show up at church. And I just want you, just think about the experience you might have at church for a minute right now. Now, we can think about it very similar to the experience at the conference right here as well, okay? Henry, where do you live at? In Stockton, California? Okay, over in California. So Henry from over in California. And Henry, what would you say is something that you enjoy eating, Henry? Like if we, for example, a meal or a restaurant, a place that you enjoy. Say that again? Pasta? Pasta. Okay, good deal. Now, Henry, let's say that you showed up here at the Healthy Church Conference, and when you showed up at the Healthy Church Conference, we decided to rename this whole thing. This was called the Henry Conference. It was all about you. It was all about you. So I'm guessing we'd probably have pasta for one of the meals. That'd be one of the meals we'd have. Okay, do you have a favorite artist or a song that you enjoy singing or type of music? Say it again. Okay, Fred Hammond. So Fred Hammond, we'd have some Fred Hammond music planned for you. How would you feel if you showed up to the conference and we had pasta, we had Fred Hammond music, and we did everything that just made you go, man, I love this conference. What would you think about that? You'd be pretty happy, right? It'd be amazing. You know what? Here's what I'm going to say about Henry right here. If we were to invite Henry to our homes, we would probably make sure we had that type of meal or those types of things for him to eat and that kind of music playing in the background. And here's what I want you to hear. People like Henry walk through the doors of your church every single weekend. People who are lost and they haven't been found yet. And when people like Henry walk through the doors on the weekend, something that I hope is that each and every one of us would keep in mind, there is more joy in heaven over one lost person who repents and returns to God than over the 99 righteous who haven't strayed. So, Henry, thank you for being my lost person. Let's give Henry a hand, everybody. All right, we're going to the Henry Conference in 2025, my man. All right. So, here's the deal. That's kind of the why behind it. Now I want to think about kind of the how. What are some of the hows that come along with this? About how we designed this evangelistic worship service. What does this look like? What's the essence of it? Well, here's some things I want you to think about, in general. Like when Jesus was here on this earth and he walked around and talked and connected with people, something that Jesus was really good at is he was really good at asking them, what can I do for you? It's amazing when you see people who were blind reaching out and calling out to Jesus. And Jesus' response to them was, what can I do for you? You see the person who was lame at the pool and Jesus asking them, do you want to get well? Jesus asked people very often, hey, what can I do for you? Because Jesus learned something. Jesus knew something very significant that he wants us to know as well. That one of the keys to reaching lost people is finding out what those felt needs are. What are those things that they're experiencing or that they're going through that if you could just meet that need, it would make all the difference in the world to them. Jesus really leaned in to felt needs. Felt needs mattered to him. We as a church did a series a few years ago. And the series was called, Are You Okay? It was called, Are You Okay? It was a series on mental health. And this series on mental health was the first time we did a series like this before. But I got to tell you, it was something powerful that we saw. Matter of fact, I want you guys to hear something. I won't talk too much about it, but I will tell you this. The last session that we're going to have over the course of these 2 days, Pastor Mark Grohocky, he's going to do a session. It's going to be on our mental health, our emotional health. And I'm going to tell you guys something. He's a licensed therapist, and he is really good at what he does. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you've got plans that you're like, oh, I've got to leave the conference early, cancel them, all right? I want you to be here. Get here for that last session because God is going to use that to speak into your heart and your life, and it's going to be a blessing to everyone else in your church as well. So make sure you hit that last one up, all right? Don't mess it up, all right? I'm playing. Here's the deal. We're going to talk about that a little more, but here's the deal. Are you okay? We did a series called Are You Okay? And the essence of the series was, you know what? We may not know everything about mental health, but something we can do for anybody is we can ask them the question, are you okay? And then be a safe place for them to talk to us and share with us. So we don't have to respond to anything back. Just listen and be there for other people. Simply asking them, are you okay? Now I got to tell you what was so cool about this. We had people show up at our church that have never walked through the doors of a church before. We had crowds of people show up in November. People coming to check out our church because it was a felt need in our community. It was something that people were experiencing, or their family members or their friends were experiencing. And when they heard we're willing to talk about something like that, a lot of people showed up. And I want you to know that's what it means, connecting with a felt need. You find something that the community is struggling with or dealing with, and you address that, and it's amazing the lost people that God has sent your direction when you're willing to do that. You see, and doing that right there as well, doing a series like that, it was very powerful. But I want you to know as well, there's other things you can think about as well. People who are hungry, who are willing to show up on the weekend and connect with you, are people who are in transition and people who are going through tension. People who are going through transition in life, maybe they just moved into your neighborhood or their area. They might be looking for a church. Great place to point them to. People who've had a baby. A lot of times when people have a baby, they have a family starts up. We had a family here, a gal who went through our student ministries for years here. She walked away from the church during her college age and young adult years, but once she had a baby, her and her family came back and they've re-engaged here again. Something happens sometimes when people go through a transition where it brings people back as well. But something that's really powerful as you talk about felt needs is when people go through tension in life. A lot of people experience tension in their marriage. They experience tension in their parenting. They experience tension at their work. So if you are willing to be a church that will take the time to talk about those things, those felt needs that are going on in their life, you're going to realize a lot of people will want to come and check out your church because you're offering them something that will meet a need inside of their life. Felt needs are very powerful. Now, I have a confession to make to you guys. When my son was 5 years old, my oldest son, Tayshawn, we gave my son a choice. We said, hey, buddy, with the city, they're doing some city leagues we're getting started, and they're doing soccer and football at the exact same time. And so I said, hey, buddy, I wanted to empower my kid to make choices. I said, hey, you can choose whichever one you want. You can choose soccer or you can choose football. So he said, let me think about it. So he thought about it for a few days, and one day he came home from school. He ran through the doors and he said, Dad, I want to play soccer. I said, okay. So I picked up a football. And I said, hey, buddy, let's go to the backyard for a little bit. So we went to the backyard for a little bit. And while we're playing football together, I'm throwing him passes. I'm hyping my son up, y'all. Oh, my goodness. And he would make a catch, and I'm like, oh, my goodness, that was amazing. You know how many 5-year-olds can make that catch? Probably all of them. But no, they're so amazing. You are so good. I was hyping him up. He was feeling good, playing football in the backyard for about 30 minutes. After about 30 minutes, he's like, man, Dad, I want to play football. I said, Nicole, sign him up right now. Now, I know that what I did was wrong, but it was oh so right. I didn't want to watch my son play soccer. I wanted to give him choices, but I wanted him to make the right choice. So when he didn't, I kind of urged him along to make the right choice right there. Now, here's the reason why I put my kids in sports and all. Obviously, it's great because you get a chance to get them off electronics for a while. That's fantastic. You get a chance to get them, out doing something competitive, get them a chance to be a part of a team and learn team dynamics. But I'm going to tell you a reason why I put my kids in sports. A huge reason for me, I put them in sports is because it gets me out into the community, hanging out with people who don't know Jesus Christ. And now I've got hours sitting next to parents during practice where I get a chance to talk to them. And I got hours sitting next to them at games, cheering on their kids and being a great encourager for them and connecting with them in that way. And in doing that, what I get the opportunity to do is listen to what are their felt needs. What are the things going on inside of their life? What is important to them? What do they value? What do they struggle with? What do they need help with? And as I hear those things, as I ask people these things, these are the ideas we bring back to the table when we're talking about, hey, what series might we do at church? Well, I can tell you, I've been listening to people in the community, and this is what they're struggling with right here. And I want to challenge each and every one of you. Over time, it becomes easy to stay within the walls of our church. It becomes easy to only hang out with other Christians. I want to challenge you that if you really want to reach this community, for you to take the lead and being someone who will go outside the walls of your church, connect with your community, and find out what those felt needs are. Because once you find out those felt needs, you get a chance in a powerful way now to reach the community right where they're at. You see, as you begin reaching the community, people will want to show up and come check out what you're doing, what's going on at church. And something we have to be careful of, when people start showing up at church, we got to be careful that we don't intentionally or unintentionally put hurdles in their way when they're coming or they want to come to our church. And here's what I mean by putting hurdles inside of your way. You see, right here in the book of Acts, we have this powerful example in the early church. And in the early church, they had this moment, this time where they're trying to figure out what to do with these new Gentiles and what things should they have to do to really be one of us or part of us. And as they had this debate and conversation and talking things through, I love what James said in Acts 15:19. James said something so powerful in Acts 15:19. He says, "And so my judgment is that we should not make it difficult for the Gentiles who are turning to God." We should not make it difficult for the Gentiles who are turning to God. He says, you know what? We should not put hurdles in people's way who are trying to come to God, who are returning to God, who want to be in a relationship with God. And I share this with you for a few reasons, because hurdles have actually been listed by people who do track and field as the hardest track and field event is the 400-meter hurdles. And that event is so hard because you have to run full sprint. And every 40 meters or so, you have to then exert a different amount of energy, everything you have to jump up and get over a hurdle. And then once you get over that hurdle, you got to do it again another 9 times. It is one of the most difficult events in track and field. The hurdles are very, very hard. And this summer, we'll watch the Olympics and we'll see people run the hurdles. And man, it's great watching people do the hurdles. But you know what's not great? When you're the one that has to jump over the hurdles. And sometimes what we do unintentionally or intentionally is we put up hurdles for people, hurdles that they have to get over if they want to get close to Jesus. And I'm going to share with you what some of these hurdles are. One of the hurdles, it's actually our music. I'm just going to share it from this perspective. I'm going to read something to you guys right now. And what I read to you, it's about music. And I want you to read, this is someone's response about some church music, okay? They said this: there are several reasons for opposing it. It's too new. It's too worldly, even blasphemous. The new Christian music is not as pleasant as the more established style. Because there are so many new songs, you can't learn them all. It puts too much emphasis on instrumental music rather than on godly lyrics. This new music creates disturbances, making people act indecently and disorderly. The preceding generation got along without it. It's a money-making scheme, and some of these new music upstarts are lewd and loose. Now, if you got this on one of your Google reviews, actually, I pulled it from one of your websites. No, I'm playing. Some people would get this right here and be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe someone would think like that. Now, who do you think wrote something like this, a Christian or a non-Christian? A Christian, okay? They've been around for a while. They saw this. They were really upset about it. And when I first read this, what I didn't know is it sounds like something we might hear nowadays. This was actually written 300 years ago, in the year 1723. And this was written 300 years ago because people were objecting to the music of someone named Isaac Watts. And 2 songs that Isaac Watts wrote, just in case you're wondering, are 1, When I Survey the Wondrous Cross, and 2, Joy to the World. This guy had an issue with Joy to the World. Okay, I love Joy to the World. That's got to be one of my favorite Christmas songs of all time. What's there not to like about that? Joy to the world, the Lord has come, let earth receive her King. And we think now, when we look at some of these songs and go, wow, that's a classic, that's so amazing. But I want you to know something. At one point, that song that we think is classic or amazing, it was a brand new song, and somebody opposed it. Somebody took issue with it. Somebody said, oh, I can't believe you would play that at church. I share that with you to say this. Think about your music and what music style that you have. And is that something that is so far different from what a lost person would listen to that it becomes a barrier to them coming to your church? Or maybe it could be close. Maybe it's something you have that you listen to with your music that's actually very close or similar style. What we want to do is we want to think about, I'm not saying that your style has to be exactly the same as everybody else's out there, but think about what people who are lost are listening to and see if we can find a way with our music to engage them so that they'll say, you know what? I don't really know about these lyrics right here, but I can kind of get down with that beat a little bit. Okay, that makes sense to me. We had a guy before who came to our church. Easter Sunday was his first time coming. He was not a follower of Christ, but man, he loved music. And he saw the way music was happening at church, and he just said, man, there's something different about it. There was just something different about it that drew him in. And eventually this guy started a relationship with Jesus, but it was in part because of the music. It wasn't music that he couldn't relate to, but something similar to what he could grasp. Your music style makes a difference to the lost. Some other barriers that we set up sometimes is our language. We have a language barrier sometimes. A lot of churches are fluent in Christianese. And we speak some terms sometimes that lost people have no idea what we're talking about. So we want to be careful. We think about Jesus. Jesus spoke the language of the street. Jesus was someone who sets a great example of this. Jesus told stories very often. Jesus told stories that we still remember thousands of years later. I just say the Good Samaritan, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because Jesus engaged with people, and he shared things with people that helped lost people understand who he was and what he was all about. Another barrier sometimes that we put up, just one last one, is our clothing as well. And the first question I get whenever I invite somebody to church, more often than not, is, what do I have to wear to church? Or I don't have any church clothes. And we love to just tell people, just come as you are. Think about how much of a difference that makes for lost people when they find out, I don't have to go shopping for something different or be somebody that I'm not. I can just show up just as I am. I want to ask all of you to just think about this for a minute. What barriers is your church putting up intentionally or unintentionally that might be keeping people from experiencing Jesus? You see, I share some of these things here, and I think we finally get to a point where we can invite people to church and we bring them to our church. And a few things I want you to know when people show up to your weekend worship service is you want to be thinking about the experience people are going to have, lost people, from the street to the seat. Everything matters. That the moment they show up, did you plan for them to be there? Did you know they'd be showing up? You know, what's really cool is if your church has some first-time guest parking, that's a great way for people to be able to see, you were planning on me being here. I got a front row spot to be able to come to church today. I know some churches have like VIP host, people that when they see a new person, they walk them around. They help get their kids checked in. They talk to them. That's another way that you can help lost people feel comfortable walking through the doors of your church. Some churches will give you a free drink. You can put a free drink in your hands. And just something where you can be more relaxed before you sit down into service. And if you're a church just doing all kinds of things like this, let me tell you what happens. Is lost people experience the love of Jesus long before we ever tell them about the love of Jesus. And that is powerful for people who are lost. We want to be thinking these things through. So if we're going to plan with our target in mind, we really want to think about, okay, what is everything a lost person might connect with? Now, I know in hearing this right now, there's going to be some tension. There's a rub right now. Because for some of you, what you're thinking about is, okay, well, wait a minute. Then how in the world do I speak to my church family about things that only really impact Christians? How in the world do I share some of those things if I'm doing so many things to reach the person in the crowd, to reach this lost person? And what I want to tell you is with a little bit of creativity, you can do both. This fall, we decided to do a series on spiritual warfare. And we knew it was something we needed to talk to with our church family, and it was a good opportunity to share about it. But we know as well, lost people aren't thinking about spiritual warfare. They don't really even know what that's all about. And so we're thinking, okay, so how do we talk about spiritual warfare in a way that lost people can still connect and engage with? Now, at the same time we were going to start this series, it was actually coinciding with the kickoff of the NFL football season. And so as we're starting these things together, inside of our creative meeting, somebody came up with the idea and said, hey, what if we call the series, Are You Ready? Are You Ready? And instead of calling it Are You Ready, it kind of had dual purpose. Like, hey, are you ready for spiritual battles? Are you ready? Are you getting on the armor of God? Are you ready to go for the spiritual battle that's coming your way? But for the lost person, they were thinking, are you ready for some football? Right? So they're thinking like, okay, we put it like in different terms. And so what we did with the series is we kind of had a football theme that went along with it. So as we talked through all the different schemes of the evil one, as we talked through doubt and deception and discouragement and distraction, all the things the evil one might do, instead of talking about, talking about the Roman helmet and hat that he puts on, when the helmet of salvation came up, that message, we put on a football helmet. And we said, all right, got to get ready, got to get the mind ready, got to make sure that's protected right now. When we talked about the belt of truth, we put on a bruised belt. When we talked about the gospel shoes of peace, we put on a pair of cleats. And what that was doing was simply just showing people in our community, hey, we can relate to you. You guys know, we know you like football. We're connecting with you in this way. And it was just an opportunity for us to talk about something that really only pertained to believers, but make it something that lost people were able to say, I can relate to that. What is a small tweak you can make in your church that would just show lost people, I'm thinking about you, even if this message isn't specifically for you? Over Super Bowl weekend, a couple weekends ago, our church family, we just, as we were designing our series and our messaging for that day, we decided to do something a little bit fun. That's one of our core values, is we like to have fun. So what we did in the series is that day on Super Bowl Sunday, we shot a little video, just a fun video that we would just show within the flow of the things we're talking about, just because we knew there'd be a lot of people in our community later on that day going to a Super Bowl party. And we thought, you know what? We'll have a little fun with that as well. We can relate. So we just kind of told our church family, hey, look out for these people at your Super Bowl party. So I'm going to show you this quick video right now. Like I said, not super spiritual, just a little fun video. You'll see some spiritual ones later on, but just a little fun video, a way to relate to our community. Go ahead and check this out.
Thanks for joining us here at Palm Valley. Let's tune into the Big Game Party Scouting Report and see who we can expect today.
Snacks are here!
This is Jessica. She is known for her snacks.
Dig in, everybody!
Are those radishes?
I guess I forgot to mention her snacks aren't that good. But that doesn't stop John. They call him the scavenger. Any guess why? The thing is, once John gets the first taste of food, there is no stopping this monster.
Can I get you anything? A fork? A napkin? A plate? Anything?
Yes. This is Mark. He likes to be a good host.
You guys having fun? You guys having fun? You guys have everything? You need some pop?
I don't.
No. You need some juice.
I don't.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll get you snacks. I got you. Don't worry. I get it. Next year.
These sad fellows are Darius and Ryan. Their teams never win.
There she is!
And then there's JC. Nobody is convinced she knows what football is.
I just love the Kansas City Chiefs. They're so fun to watch.
It is the Chiefs.
Poor Steven. He doesn't like it when you don't know football.
Can you believe that Darius Toney, he's in it now. He's been dropping every single pass, and that's actually better for the 49ers that he's going to be playing this time. So where are you? You're not even a real fan. And so what I'm hoping is that they actually come out the gates doing Spider 2-Eye Banana, because what that allows the Chiefs to do is it gives them the RPO, run pass option, that Mahomes gets to choose whether he runs. No, I was almost. You're not even a real fan.
Yes, I am. Just look at her. She's so amazing.
You didn't even know about football until they started dating.
Yes.
You bought that shirt off eBay.
That's crazy.
Last but not least, there's Mike. Once he meets the couch, there is no getting up.
So I'm thinking trips right on the snack board.
Well, that about sums up this big game party. Hopefully there is just as much personality at your watch party today. Actually, never mind. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the rest of your service.
Okay, now I gotta tell you something. The only person who wasn't acting in that video was this guy right here. I'm a lifelong Detroit Lions fan. I have followed the Lions all from my days of infancy, and they've been terrible my entire life. I don't know why I put myself through that misery each and every year, but I do. And this was the closest year we ever got to doing something special. They had a great season this year, and for those who don't know, they were a one half of a football game away from going to the Super Bowl. They were up 17 points going into the second half, and I had people texting me, "Oh, the Lions are going to the Super Bowl." And I'm like, "You don't know the Lions." And sure enough, they blew it. They blew the lead. They lost the game. And that was a tough night for me, y'all. That was tough. That was rough because especially, too, we have a lot of 49er fans at our church as well. And I got to tell you, man, I knew that I was going to have to face those fans next week at church. And, man, I had to love them even though I didn't like them very much in that moment. And I got to tell you, this is where it's great that we actually have two campuses, a Buckeye campus and a Goodyear campus, because I showed up at church on our Buckeye campus that week, and I was speaking to our church family, and I said, "Hey, 49ers fans, I just want you to know something. Hey, good job. You guys beat us fair and square. Good job." I said, "Hey, good luck in the Super Bowl." And I said, "Hey, I have good news for you as well." I spoke with our Goodyear campus pastor, and hey, there's plenty of room for you over in Goodyear because you're no longer welcome in Buckeye. Now, here's the deal. We like to have a little fun from time to time. But what it does is it shows our community that we're not so out of touch with our community that we don't know what's going on, the difference that it can make in somebody's life. So just know, even small touches, small little things here and there, just show somebody from your community as they come into the crowd, "Hey, I can relate. We're going to have a little fun together. We'll connect with you, but ultimately we'll get around to what's most important, you hearing about Jesus." You see, the atmosphere that we create at church is very important. Question for everybody here. How many of you guys have ever been to a wedding reception before? Raise your hand. Okay, almost everybody, right? Some of you guys have probably officiated some of those, all right? How many have ever been to a funeral before? How many of you guys have been to a funeral before? Okay, a lot as well. Now, you will notice that there is a big difference between the atmosphere in a wedding and a funeral. It's a big difference between the two. And here's what I want you to think about with your church. When you go to a funeral, you go to honor, to celebrate the life of someone who has died. And it's usually a somber occasion. But what I want you to think about as a church is Jesus died, but he came back to life again. So when we come on Sunday mornings, we don't celebrate someone who is dead. We celebrate someone who is alive. And that is a powerful thing. Some people wait till Easter Sunday to be the only day they celebrate Jesus big. You can celebrate Jesus big every Sunday, remembering we celebrate the resurrected King Jesus who is alive and well. And that should be the cause for celebration. There should be joy within your church family. I love when people come and visit our church, and a few of the comments that they'll say sometimes, I get excited about. They'll say, "I loved all the friendly faces. I love all the people smiling." They'll say, "Man, it felt like family when I first showed up." I love those comments because it shows we're creating an atmosphere that lost people want to be a part of. What atmosphere are you creating at your church? If lost people walked in this weekend, would they think, is this more like a wedding or this is more like a funeral? How will it cause them to act or react as a result? And one last thing with this. If we're going to be a place where lost people love to attend, then we want to make sure we're doing everything we can every single time they show up to give people an opportunity to start a relationship with Jesus. Give people an opportunity to receive Christ, to be in a relationship that'll change their life and their eternity. I want everybody to be vulnerable with me right now, just super vulnerable, okay? Maybe you've spoken messages before. Maybe you've done public speaking before. Maybe you had to share a presentation before. How many of you guys have ever had a point, just one time where you were sharing something on a stage or in front of people, and you were sharing it, and in your head, it was so awful. It was going so bad. All you wanted to do was just get off the stage as soon as possible. Raise your hand for me. Okay? Yeah, a lot of you guys raising your hand. Yeah, I've seen your messages. You should be raising your hand. No, I'm playing. No, a lot of people raising their hand, right? We've all had those moments, haven't we? And it's on weeks like that where I'm just teaching and I'm like, God, just take me now. Because this is just awful right here. I just need to get off of this stage. And you get off the stage and you don't even want to go into the lobby to greet people. You don't want anybody to see you after that. You just want to get in your car and go home. And then, if you happen to be on our Buckeye campus, you can't because you got tear down to do before you go home. So now you got to push those carts with shame, knowing that was a terrible message. And you just want to get out of there. It's in moments like that when you walk into the lobby and somebody walks up to you and says, that was the most amazing thing I've ever heard. You're like, what message were you listening to? They're like, I don't know what it was about today, but I started a relationship with Jesus. And these are the moments where you realize this is all God and it's not us. This is where we see truly God working through us in a powerful and phenomenal way. And you would say in your head, a miraculous way, because you didn't think anybody even got anything out of that. And I want you to know it's in those moments right there, God is always reminding us, hey, just be my humble servant. Do what I've asked you to do, and watch how I will bless as a result. And once people say yes to Jesus, if you want to be a church that's about reaching lost people, you got to be prepared for them once they say yes. You want to make sure you have a place for them to go, a place for them to connect. You want to make sure you have a next step for them. The hope and the goal and the desire is that people would be able to know, hey, now that I've started a relationship with Jesus, what do I do now? And you can point them in the right direction. You can let them know what's next. We have something where we love to give people a few different weeks, kind of like with a one-on-one coach, one-on-one mentor, one-on-one person, helping them see some of their next steps of reading God's word and getting connected to his family and getting baptized. If you're going to be a church that reaches lost people, always have a plan for what you're going to do once they are found. Now, I'm going to leave you with this. You can forget everything that I said today, and you will be just fine as long as you remember what Jesus said in Luke 15:7. Jesus told each and every one of us, in the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over 99 others who are righteous and haven't strayed. My hope, my prayer for you and your church family is that this year there would be more joy in heaven because we did everything we could to reach lost people until they were found. God, we thank you so much for doing whatever it took to reach us when we were lost so that now we are found. And God, my prayer is that each and every one of us will never forget that. That at some point we were blind, but now we can see. Remind us of that constantly, Lord, that we live in a community surrounded by people who don't know you, whose eternity lies in the hinge, but you allow us to be a part of that special moment in their life where they turn to see you. God, I pray that you would place within our hearts and on our team's hearts ways that we can design our weekend worship service so that lost people will be found. Give us wisdom, give us creativity. Help us remove barriers, God. Help us to do whatever it takes short of sin to reach lost people. Staying true to who you are and honoring you every step of the way. My prayer, Heavenly Father, is that there would be more joy in heaven this year because we as churches said we're all in for reaching the people who are lost that you want to find. In Jesus' name. And everybody said, Amen. Amen.